This is Dr. Brandon Beals. I am one of the founding and lead pastors of Venture Church in the Seattle area. Fun fact, I've been to 48 of the 50 states in America.
My name is Tony Mattar. I'm a pastor of Venture Church. I pastor a church called Venture Seattle, in the heart of Seattle. And I have been to 6 states in all of America. Welcome to Pastors Unfiltered.
Hey everyone.
Well,
What, dude?
I thought
Bro.
it's my reappearance
What?
on the pod. I'm back, baby.
What? Okay, well, you cut me
No,
off. Will
fine,
you at
you
least
take it.
greet everyone for us?
Well, no, you can.
No, go ahead.
You wanna?
No, go ahead.
No,
Do the
this is
intro.
the Tony show.
Do the
BB's
intro.
gone.
Boys.
It's
Do
the
the
Tony
intro.
show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Pastors Unfiltered. My name is Tony. I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, David Manuel Diaz. David, how are you today?
It's David Chad Diaz. I'm well, back from Mexico, Vegas, baby. Let's go.
That sounds like a lot. And we are joined today by Mr. Jonathan. What is your middle name, John?
David.
John David Plotner.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep.
Wonderful. John,
He's my replacement.
thank you for being back on the pod.
Sunday
He
morning.
replaced-
No, man.
First question, let's get it out of the way. How is Charlene, and then how is Benny?
I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Charlene and Benny in the same sentence before.
Well, they're your family.
Charlene is great. Benny is our high maintenance child. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about
Our-
dogs.
And that's
Our
because
dog.
Vinny moved out.
Because Vinny is not, David's sister is no longer here taking care of Vinny. So we have to do it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, folks, Pastor Brandon is gone today.
You can tell. You can tell he's gone.
Judah, where is he? We don't know.
Are we not supposed to know?
I don't know. I don't text him if he's out of the office unless he texts me.
Am I allowed to expose him?
When you say it like that,
Oh my God. Okay, never mind.
it
never
sounds
mind.
like he's like getting a tattoo.
Raiders
That'd be on brand for PB.
Where
Getting a
is- Do you know
tattoo?
where he is?
I think I do.
Okay, where is he?
I think he's in Vegas
Okay.
because I just checked out of his condo.
How
And
was your stay?
it was incredible.
5 out of 5 stars?
5 out of 5 stars. It was incredible. I struggle with sleeping in beds that aren't my own.
Yeah.
I felt like I almost slept on the couch because I felt like I couldn't sleep in PB's bed. But
That sounds like a personal problem. I
Yep.
heard at the door there's like a Tony the Alien. What is this? I haven't been to his condo in 2 years. So what is
Tony the Alien monitors and keeps watch over PB's bedroom at the condo. And he's wearing a Jeep hat currently. But I'm assuming PB changes the hat every time he goes.
Is that concerning, John?
Could we put a photo of that in the show notes or something?
Do we have a photo?
Do we have show
Um,
notes?
We do have show notes.
Okay.
Okay.
We have upped it since you've been here last.
I only have a video of me putting the key back in the secret spot. PB wanted
Just
to-
in case.
Just in case. Yes.
Well, David, thank you for being here today. Folks, we have a lot we're going to unpack. We're going to save our fun stuff for the end. Huge shout out to Anderson Lawn Care. Check them out for all your lawn care
Hey,
needs.
I just booked him for
Did
Monday.
you really?
He's coming to my house Monday.
He is coming to the Seattle campus the week of Easter.
Oh.
I just want to say this. We are doing our live episode, our 100th episode in person, and we have 20 spots. And as of this recording, we have 12 spots left. 12 spots.
What's
you
the
just-
is there a lunch
Could
included?
you just put me on? Could you-
Oh, now we have 11.
Okay.
Is Charlene and Benny coming?
Benny for sure.
Okay. Charlene doesn't listen to the podcast. Just admit
he
it.
could be the podcast
No,
mascot.
Charlene and Ariel can go to Azul that night they don't listen to. We had this like vent session last episode how no one on staff listens to our podcast. Sean King,
I listen to the podcast from Yak.
no.
You don't see my download from
Kentucky?
Eastern Washington?
David moved to Palm Springs.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
that's
Yakima, and he keeps referring to it as the Palm Springs of
Yeah.
Washington.
No, I'm
No.
on a Yak City kick.
We really
We're
got to
going
just
out.
dive in
Yes, we should.
before we lose this. Hey, we want to unpack a topic today that we feel can apply to anyone. It could apply to you in the business world, in the ministry world. If you're a stay-at-home parent, stay-at-home mom, dad, working from home, maybe you're new to marriage, you guys just got married recently or you're young in your marriage, I want to talk today a little bit about culture and talking about the culture of your environments. So for us specifically, we had a fresh start at culture with the Seattle campus. What was it going to be? What kind of culture were we going to have? What are the things that we wanted to celebrate? We wanted to honor? What are bad habits that we've formed that we're like, oh, that's in our culture now, isn't it? That we have to control. David, you have a worship culture.
Yeah.
John, you are a high up at a business.
You just
Private
received
business?
an award.
Just
this
received
day.
an award.
Come on.
Which award was it?
Customer Success Leader of the Year.
Do we have a button for that?
Yeah, we got a button, Judah. That's
Let's
right,
go.
baby. That's right. And John, you worked for the local church for how many years?
2 different churches, 20 years total.
And now you're in the business world. So you know a lot about culture. You've seen good, bad, ugly,
Yes, for sure.
for sure.
How do you define culture, first of all?
That is a great question, David. How do you define culture?
I think we are asking the least qualified. So I'm going to throw it back to John. How would you define culture? Why don't we set a tone for the conversation?
I actually have a
set a foundation.
Sure, I have a definition.
Let's hear it.
Let me ask my foresight coach.
Yeah. This is the foresight definition, actually.
Let's hear it.
A friend of mine just wrote a book on culture called Culture Matters, and I'd been reading it. Had known the content of it for a while, but this is her definition: clarity of who we are and how we work together to achieve our mission.
Oh.
Clarity of who we are and how we work together to achieve our mission.
Yeah.
So I have a qualm when I go places. I actually think it's super tacky, in my opinion, when you go somewhere and like the mission statement's on the wall and it's like, ironically, we have our mission statement on our wall at Venture in Seattle and at Mill Creek.
Come on.
And the reason why I sometimes find it just interesting is that you don't see that mission statement lived out by most places. So like if you go somewhere in retail and their mission statement's on the wall, they have terrible customer service, terrible return policy, whatever it may be. What is your take on actually living out culture in the context of where you're at?
Yeah, I think you have to have, we all fail at culture all the time. But we have to have something to aspire to. So if we don't have that mission statement on the wall, or whether it's on the wall or whether it's on the wall, it doesn't matter. But the fact is, should be a reminder of this is what we aspire to be, because there are days and times and seasons where we very easily get off track, and it should be kind of this bar that we return to center on this is who we attempt to be. And we don't always do it. Oftentimes we don't do it, but if we don't have it stated, then it's difficult to achieve it.
100%. One of my favorite lines that I read from an article recently is mission is what you do, vision is what you see, but culture is how your church, your home, your business feels. How it feels.
That's good. Who's that?
That is Carrie Newhoff. So why does culture matter? So we let's maybe pick on a spot that we could all agree on that we're like, hey, we really like the culture of that spot. I think we all like Chick-fil-A.
I love
You love
a little
Chick-fil-A.
chick.
Come on.
I
you-
might have
Chick-fil-A.
just been there Saturday morning.
You
Working on the What's Next page, actually.
Yes. They have great
John
Wi-Fi. They fill
works
your
on the
coffee.
What's Next page every day. I swear.
Are you a chicken minis guy or chicken biscuit guy?
I
Or neither?
love them both. But Saturday I was a biscuit guy.
Come on.
Yeah.
They have
Okay,
great
what
breakfast
is it
burritos.
about the culture of Chick-fil-A that we all like?
By the way, both of my daughters' first job, Chick-fil-A. And they actually brought home my oldest brought home the little manual
Yep.
of like what they believe.
Yep.
What was your question again?
What is it about the culture of Chick-fil-A that we like?
It's my pleasure.
Hmm.
I mean, that's obviously we all know that phrase, but it really, to your point about feeling, it feels like most people when you walk into Chick-fil-A, it does feel like it's their pleasure. You walk into, shall I say, McDonald's and it's like,
What are you doing here?
yeah,
They're asking you.
They don't even take your order anymore. It's
Yeah,
all
they
machines.
do it on
they
the
don't
screen.
care. Yeah.
I 100% agree. It's like you walk into Chick-fil-A and you instantly feel like they want to serve you.
right.
so rather than say like our aim is to serve people, they just serve people. So that obviously had to come from something. David, what are some things in the worship ministry, culture-wise, that you guys have intentionally created?
Yeah, one of the things is, as a team, we place a focus on not telling people how to worship or instructing them on what to do, but leading them in worship by worshiping in and of itself, like us being able to lead ourselves into a deep place of worship. So we want to show people how to worship. We want to bring people along for that journey. So we place a really big emphasis on that. That's something that we talk about somewhat frequently. Pretty much, I would say we mention it every other Sunday morning in our team huddle. We remind ourselves of that.
So to dive into that a little bit, whose responsibility is it to create that culture?
Yeah, I think it rises and falls on leadership. So that's on me. Like I have to model that for our team and I have to lead our team. Sometimes that's leading by example. Sometimes that's a reminder. So every single Sunday morning before we head out on stage, before the first service, we chat through the set. And then there's some sort of encouraging thought, often with the scripture tied to it. I would say about 80 to 90% of the time I lead that thought. Other times I'll have some of our other worship leaders lead that thought. But there's usually an encouragement, or we remind our team of like, hey, here's your reason to worship. And we lead best not by saying the right thing or reading the right scripture. We believe that reading the word of God is powerful. We believe that time that we create for worship, it's for the Lord. It's like a very unique space in our service. But how we lead people effectively is like the army that God has called that specific morning to lead our church in worship. We have to worship ourselves. I'm not saying worship ourselves, but we have to lead ourselves to a place of worship. And so we regroup in that moment. But I would say it's on me.
But that's a really good question, John, because I think no matter how frustrated we get with culture in the workplace, our home, culture rises and falls on you.
Yeah. It's actually, it's been said like leaders have 2x the impact on culture than anyone else does. So I agree with what you're saying, yes. And there's also this misnomer that it's the leader's responsibility to create and carry the culture. And that's also not true. That the fact that the entire team creates and owns the culture. When we think about venture and those words that are on our wall out there, the culture, it's not PB's job to carry that culture. It's not you in worship to carry that. It's everyone on staff's job to carry that culture. Yeah. And it's every single person that said, I'm part of Venture family. When I walk in the doors, it's my job to carry that as well. We just went through a culture assessment at our work. We do it every 6 months where we go through and have everybody ask questions, and we just got the results back. And one of the things we struggle with is this mentality that leaders are the ones that create the culture. And it is true. We set the direction. Culture kind of starts with purpose, ends with strategy, but culture is this thing that kind of lives in the middle. And it's the leaders that set that purpose and set the strategy, but the gap that's in between those that gets filled, it's all of us. We all have to own it. You as the worship pastor, like you set the culture, but it's my job as one of the people on your team. I also have to live out that culture. I have to carry it as well. It isn't just on you. You're setting it, but we all have to do it.
I've heard it put this way. A leader might be the culture setter. They might define it. They might help spell it out. But your leadership team, for me, my worship team of volunteers for PB would be like his staff. We're the culture keepers. We are culture enforcers.
How does this apply to a stay-at-home mom? How does this apply to maybe just a mom and dad raising a family?
I was actually just thinking about this. Is like there is a family. First of all, culture exists in every organization, every unit of people. It exists. And some people say like, well, like if you're not actively doing anything, culture will always exist. The question is whether or not we're being intentional with it. So every family already has a culture. It's been set by the way we behave, how we do things. Like, do we all sit down and have meals together or don't we? Do we all question whether we're going to church on Sunday morning or don't we? And I'm thinking of those the sort of things growing up that we had a culture as a family. It may not have been written on a wall, but if you don't like the culture of like you have as a parent, you have the ability to influence and begin, again, 2x, changing that culture. You can't blame it on your kids. It's like it's your responsibility.
My favorite line about culture is that culture is created by design or it's created by default.
Great.
So like if we have bad tendencies or bad habits, hey, you guys want to go to church today? I don't know. Let's sleep in. Let's, whatever. Right. Hey, let's eat dinner together. Well, they don't want to because they're on their phones tonight. well, why are they on their phones? Because we allow them to. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
right.
there's just things that are created by default, just what we typically do. It's the monotony of life, or we're intentional. And I think it's super built in. When you guys did that assessment, John, at your job, was it tough to hear some of that feedback and go like, oh man, like these are the people I leading, and like, I'm sure not all of it was 100%. Like,
It's rough sometimes. Not this cycle, but the last one. I'll tell an actual story and a specific comment, because we actually have the ability to put comments in there.
and do they submit these anonymously?
Anonymously,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And there's actually a separate third-party organization we go through. We use a service called Culture Amp. They actually do that all for us and help us distribute
Nice.
it so that you're not seeing who. If there aren't at least 4 people or at least 5 people on the team, we don't see the results. It rolls up, that sort of thing. But I stepped in temporary to lead a team last July, and I'd just been leading that team for maybe 3-4 weeks. Culture Amp results go out, their surveys go out. And about a month later, I get those. So I'm brand new to this team, don't know these folks. Some of the folks I do know because I've been working there for 5+ years. And here's one of the comments that came back. And it's listed my name. John Plotner is unapproachable, micromanaging, and vindictive.
Vindictive.
Whoa.
Vindictive.
So this person is clearly like hurt by you.
Hurt
In-
by
in their-
Or
whether-
it just sounds like
whether-
they're against you.
leadership.
Yeah,
or what,
just like.
Wow.
So what did you do?
So, and most of these people, I again have not had direct relationships with. So, some of it I wanted to assume, like, I don't think they're really. I don't think it's about me. I think it's more about leadership and like this one snapshot. I've just been doing this for a few weeks. I'm coming in to a kind of messy situation, and not to the fault of anybody I'm leading. It's just a lack. There was a leadership deficit that I was walking into where they needed some strong leadership and clarity and care and all of those things. But I asked one of my peers, another director at the business, and I said, "Hey, here's what they said." And I'm like, my name was actually called out 9 times, and I've never had my name called out on a survey 9 times.
Jeez, man.
And anyway, I'm like,
Tough
"Whoa."
to be John.
It was tough,
Sheesh.
but she goes, "That's great. Now you know what the perception is, and you can change it."
Wow. That's
Wow,
cool.
It's actually really wise. Yeah.
And I thought, because what she was saying behind that is, we all know that that is not you. And I went home and told Shirley, and I said, maybe I can be unapproachable. You're in a hurry, you're busy, you're in meetings all day long. I can get that. Micromanaging, I'm coming in and I'm setting some direction and accountability that hadn't maybe been there before. And I'm another leader that's, I can get that. But vindictive, like that is just not me at all. And what she was basically saying, my coworker was saying is, that that's not true about yourself. And now you have the ability to go in and repair that feeling. So the results came out again. After 9 times my name being called out, my name was not called out once.
Praise God.
Wow.
And the results are still, rough because there's a lot of transition happening
Yeah.
in our organization right now. But the good, like if you don't know, I think sometimes leaders want to kind of fly blind. Like I don't want to know because that's hard. But if we don't get feedback and don't know what the perception is, then we don't have the ability as leaders to change it.
So I want to unpack an article with you guys, and the reason why is, once again, this really applies to anyone, but I'm going to just use the church context because it's best. It's my current context, so I can't relate to everyone as much as I want to. But so a month ago, I'm sitting in church at Seattle, and I just kind of noticed like some of our team. Not like our staff, but like our volunteers and everyone, like felt like that, that church planter like mindset, like you have to be constantly scrappy, entrepreneurial. Like it is like you're grinding. And the moment you take your foot off the pedal, it's not that we're okay, before everyone gets all hyper spiritual on me, you're doing it on your own self. I'm just talking about, yes, the Lord builds his church, but it's almost like starting a new business. You can't lose these aspects. People are kind of starting to ease off a little bit. Like if a new person walks by, I kind of monitored it. Like no one said hi to her. No one kind of showed her, hey, my name is so-and-so. Can I walk you to where you need to go? A new family walked in. They looked a little confused. And I went home that day and I really thought like, we've kind of eased off the pedal a little bit.
Mhm.
We need to fix this. So I met with our ops person and our assimilations director, and I said, guys, we need to create a culture guide, because right now there's culture being created that our people, out of the goodness of their hearts, are creating culture, but we need to be very intentional with the culture we want. So, like, for instance, I want the Nordstrom experience to happen at the local church. Not that someone feels like super like better than anyone, but like when a new person walks in, we're going to walk to you. We're going to shake your hand. We're going to make eye contact. You have a family, a child, we're going to walk you to kids check-in. We're going to show you where to park your stroller. Like, we're going to help you figure out what to do. You're new here, you need coffee, we're going to make you your cup of coffee. It's that just added touch. So I wanted to kind of assess this article and hear your guys' thoughts. So the first thought is this: be honest with yourself about your actual culture. And I think, John, you did a really good job. I mean, you had to be really honest with, like, hey, am I actually vindictive? I don't think I am.
Yeah.
But being really honest.
Well, and that's why I went and talked to my friend Angela to say, like, hey, here's this feedback. What do I do with that?
100%. Whether you've written down your core values or not, your church, your business, your home has a culture. Your culture is what your place feels like, how people behave, and how people treat each other. And I think that's why it's like, we could say all day long we want excellence, but if we come in, and I'll pick on the worship ministry, just, I'm not saying this happens.
Yeah, sure thing.
We want excellence, but rehearsal starts at 6:30. People are showing up at 6:32. The Starbucks in their hand. Hey, how you doing? They're greeting everyone. They haven't even plugged in their instruments. They, like, it just shows like they're not prepared. They're not ready.
They don't care.
They don't care, or they didn't even like rehearse or practice at home, like the music. David, how do you assess the culture of the worship ministry in particular? Or
how do
actually,
I do it, or what is my assessment?
Not just that. How do you also assess worship on a Sunday morning at Venture?
Yeah. Oh, I feel like you just asked 3 questions.
He did.
Let's do the worship at Sunday.
How do I do it? I think it's constantly, like, I have to be in the moment, but I also need to live in like the 30,000 foot view of my department. So for me, that looks like, okay, well, how's worship functioning? How is the team doing? How's everybody doing individually, spiritually? How is everyone doing in terms of, like, are they prepared? We have I have a saying. One thing I try to do before the first service of before the 8:30 service every single Sunday is I try to high five everybody before worship starts, and I let people know, hey, I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. Just to, like, set a joyful tone. But it also is an opportunity for me to, like, that little interaction is a check-in. Like, hey, are they engaged? Did Pat Bjorkland hug me back and tell me that he loves me? If he didn't, I know he's tired, or I know, if Nick Watson, or not Nick Watson, if Nolan Racer and I don't, like, make a great contact when we high five right before that first service, we redo it until we lock it in. And when we lock it in, we get excited.
You put a lot of expectation on your people to.
He doesn't have
We
that
value
expectation on
enthusiasm.
I look at John. I give him one of these.
With John, it's like, with John, it's like, John gives me the hug that I'm not getting from my dad. John just.
Okay.
What?
That's fair.
It's just a very, like,
that's fair.
I know, like, John loves me and cares deeply about me, and he's praying for me, and like, he'll remind me of that on Sunday mornings. But I do it by just really just keeping an eye on the people. I know that if our people are engaging in the ways that I don't want to say that I expect them to, but if our people are operating within our cultural norms, then I know that we are doing well. And I know that, okay, we're set up to win. If they are not, I usually notice it during worship. So we'll go to, like, the answering the next question, but then we'll adjust or address after the first set. Sometimes there's adjustments or addressing of things before the first service. I feel like one of our cultural norms is that we need to be on time and we need to be prepared, especially with our leaders. We have a call time of 6:45 a.m. and a downbeat of 7 a.m. That 6:45, you can get away with getting here at 6:50 if you're prepared and you're truly ready to go by 7 a.m. But we don't really have people walking in late with a Starbucks. Like, that type of stuff doesn't happen anymore. We have young people who wake up late, sleep through their alarms, maybe their phone doesn't charge. and they're usually extremely apologetic about it. And they get there, and you can tell, like, man, I dropped the ball. This was not right. I'm a leader. Like, there's more expected of me. How do I evaluate it in terms of the church? I think that there is a spiritual read on the room. How are we doing? Like, are we creating a space for the Holy Spirit to minister to us and to our people the way that, not that we desire to, but are we creating truly a space where the Holy Spirit can move freely, and we want to be on God's plan, not our own. 2, there is a physical and audible participation element. And 3, I think that there is a set of expectations, I guess, I would say. Okay. Like, dreams I have for worship every single Sunday is I want worship to feel engaging, impactful, and energetic. I want it to feel passionate. I want it to not just feel passionate, but to be passionate. And there's physical and spiritual markers for all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2 is to identify and eliminate toxins. Quote, this is a quote I really like. You can't eliminate what you don't identify. So identify the things you want removed from your culture. That, like, for us, John, at home, Ariel and I decided every weeknight we're home together. We are doing dinner as a family. TV is off. There's not a single phone near us. Screens are put away. We're doing, like, that's us. Because we noticed the toxicity of golf was on the TV. Lenny had her tablet. I was like, this isn't healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard someone once say that the best way to counteract the negative culture, and like what you're mentioning, toxic culture, is actually you don't address the negativity, crowd it out. So if you have a culture that there's parts of it you don't appreciate, you have to find other things to introduce to the culture that pushes that away.
Love that.
So for example, like if you don't like the culture of people having phones at the table, like you crowd that out by doing something else. Like we set our phones over here or whatever that might be. But we don't get very far by like going after negative culture. It's introducing more positive things that replace that. But
I actually really like that.
One of the statements also is like you whatever you celebrate is what you replicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's also focusing on the good elements is a quicker way to change your culture than to focus on the negative elements.
That's so good.
That is really good, man. The third point, don't mistake your beliefs with your values, which we've kind of talked about. So like, for instance, like a local church, our beliefs are to make disciples, tell the world about Jesus, and serve the poor. Those are great things.
Right.
We should all strive to do those
Every
things.
church should believe that.
Yes. That doesn't mean we're actually doing those things. And not only are we not actually, that just because those are values doesn't mean it's culture.
Well, to your point, it's like, I think every church should have this very similar, Christian churches should have similar beliefs.
Yes.
The values are what are different from church to church, which
100%.
then creates the different culture.
100%. What are healthy values in the workplace that you've decided, hey, we're going to incorporate these?
For me, it's respect, like treating people with respect, empowering people. But probably the biggest thing is to lead with vulnerability. Trust is such a huge part of leadership that if people can't trust you, and the quickest way to gain trust from folks is to be vulnerable yourself. Because if you come in as a leader that I know it all, and I think that's talking about the culture of worship at Venture, you do that really well. You lead with vulnerability, which then creates trust, and then people will follow you when you're trying to create a specific culture.
What's the difference between being vulnerable and wearing your heart on your sleeve?
Emotional intelligence.
Discretion. Our word. That's hard. I'll kind of take it back. So John, we have a word that we use in the green room, and it's discretion. And I think that
it was started as a
team,
joke, but it's kind of like everybody knows it's the word now.
it started as a joke, but it actually has brought something. We have a team full of we all look different. We're all different ages, different backgrounds, different careers, but it feels like a family nonetheless. And I think that when you feel like a family, there's this like level of comfort. So I think that we have deep trust.
Right.
And I think that sometimes we need to bring it back around or just be a little bit more sensitive of the fact that like, hey, while we actually are all friends now and we are all this like big worship family, like, hey, We're still on a mission. How do we come back to the main thing? Whether that's getting ready to head up onto the platform or trying to, rein people back in because we just came off of a really fun, praise prayer request to something serious. We have a word that we use, discretion. But I think that's really good.
Really good. Yeah, I think 100% people can relate to your humanity more than your perfection.
Yeah, totally.
And I think it's actually really healthy. Like, we talk about this all the time, that something unlocked in our church when it was like 7 years ago, PB announced to the church, I have anxiety. Because he went from this like fearless, it's like, what are his
Fight,
issues?
Pastor.
Fight.
I'm home.
What are his issues? To like, he's like, hey guys, I'm struggling. I'm getting professional help for this. I've never had this before. And then it opened up the floodgates of people being like, hey, I've had this. And it made them feel like, oh, well, my pastor can have it.
Right.
I can work through this too.
Yeah.
That's good. John, you already referenced this, but the point 4 is model the change you want to see. So I think that's so good, man. Reinforcing those positive values instead of like, we've all been under leaders who have just been like, we need to change this. This is unhealthy. I don't like this. Just model it. So like, for instance, Christian Limbeck talks a lot about making sure the church is presentable. Like the grounds, the facility. You will see him get out of his car and literally on his way to the front door of the church, pick up trash. It's just what he does. Now in Seattle, me, Ethan, our team, we pick up trash when we see trash. It's just like something we do. It's like we want to have a clean church. We want to show people like we care about our craft. We care about the place you're meeting in today. Any conversation about your health, your church's health, your business health, your home's health starts in the mirror of a leader. So being honest with yourself, assessing it, evaluating it, and then just being like, man, I got to create this. But also empowering people, empowering our children, empowering our coworkers, our colleagues to make change.
Yeah, one of the ways that played out for me is we talk about having work-life balance and wanting to make sure that people are not working, in the weekends and the nights. And when I'm really enjoying work and I'm busy, like I don't mind like working in the evenings or working on the weekends. And I would Slack people, not because I wanted them to respond in the moment, but I'm like, I'm working now. And I learned like, if I want my people to have balance, then I cannot model balance by sending emails at 11 o'clock at night.
I got to tell you a story.
What's the story? Are you going to stir the pot?
No. So John Guerrero.
Oh, John G. John G, let me set this up, works for both Tony and I think he works with.
I can't say he works for me because I don't pay him, but he is on our staff in Seattle as a lay leader. 2 months ago, I was texting John. We text all the time about church stuff. And then John, we do one-on-ones every here and there. And he goes, hey, man, would you do me a favor? So what's that? He goes, if it's anything church related, send me a Slack. If it's personal, you want to hang out, you want to grab a burger, you want to chat about our marriages, whatever, text me. Yeah. And it was creating that healthy boundary. And then I started doing that with all of our staff in Seattle. And I'll tell you what, when I see someone's name come through my phone now on text, I'm like, oh, I'm excited to hear like what's going on.
Right.
Our entire staff in Seattle. And now it's even trickled into our volunteers. Church-related things is strictly Slack.
Yeah, that's cool.
Slack us. Personal, can I pray for you? How's your family? Text. I love that.
Exactly. We've actually created those same parameters at work. And if there is
I love that.
And if there is a text that comes in, it's like it's emergency. Like
the building's burning down.
Yeah, there's
Elevation needs us.
Elevation needs us on a Sunday morning, and
that's for Alex.
There's a concern. Like those types of things, we reserve the right. Like hey, this is really important. I know I want your eyes on it immediately. But other than that, it's that very same. I even have folks that I work with that I'm friends with, and I try to keep those boundaries myself. If I'm talking about, hey, we're going to the Kraken game on Thursday night, like I'm going to text that. I'm not going to do that in Slack, and vice versa. I'm going to do my work communication in Slack and not by a text.
I love it. Okay, last thing, and then I want to unpack some pop culture with you today.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Because I know you and David watch the same kind of
Reality
junk
TV.
reality television.
Below Deck.
Well, I want to talk about Traitors.
What?
We're going to have a talk. Anyways,
I
last
have
thing.
no idea what he's talking about. Do you know what he's talking about?
Oh, get ready. Last
Are we
thing.
about to get canceled?
No. We won't get canceled. Is to write it down. So I did this thing where I wrote down about 50 culture things I want to see. It's not necessarily like vision. I'm talking like specifics. Like this is what this is what it looks like. Kind people at the church. A warm home. In our home, it's slowed down. It's not chaotic. It's I even wrote like one screen at a time. I don't have the iPad going and the TV's going, and then like I'm texting on my phone. Like I just wrote down 50 of these things, and obviously I'm not going to recite them all to myself every day, but I just even putting pen to paper, taking my thought, putting it down somewhere, made me feel like, okay, I can incorporate this. Gives me kind of some vision, but now it's like the action of how I'm going to create that culture. Have you guys ever written down culture statements or things of culture for both of your areas?
Yeah, I mean, our team, half the team's in the room. We went through a season where every Monday is when we do our service planning meeting. We would hit on expectations or values and things like that. So one of the most exciting ones that we've reviewed recently is we want everybody on the team to be charismatic. We want them to be excited and on fire about what we're doing. We want them to be passionate about
Riz? Sorry, it was the old guy pulling it back. I heard that was...
That's borderline inappropriate.
It is
John.
inappropriate. I'm sorry.
Discretion, Papa.
Riz is not inappropriate.
I thought that was charismatic.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like he's got the Riz. He's
The
cool.
Rizzler.
I thought I'd made a mistake there. I was like,
The Rizzler on
PB is
social
after
media.
me.
Okay,
All right,
anyway,
move on.
I just don't want to get canceled again. I lost my train of thought. Oh, we want everybody to be passionate and excited. We want them to be excited and passionate about their work, about their walk with Jesus, about working together. So anyway, I think that's one immediate example for our team.
John, how about you?
Yeah, I read it. I started a few years ago. Right, we talked about actually earlier word of the year, and it comes from that for me is like, what's my word? What's the kind of my purpose for the year? And it changes. I mean, the foundation's always the same, but always write it down.
Yeah, I actually got that idea from you. You know, I stopped doing goals.
Yeah,
first time in about 11 years, I stopped setting goals. I do rhythms now.
Yeah,
thanks, John.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Shameless plug.
Let's hear
this
it.
Is what I do on the side. I love to talk about culture and help people. So if there's anybody listening,
Who will repair your business? Who will repair your life?
Do you do consulting with businesses, churches,
yep,
all the above?
individuals, yeah, all the above.
Okay, how can people find you, John?
Finally on Instagram, LinkedIn, John Plotner, Jon Plotner.
Okay,
and you can find me there.
Love it. Okay, so last night, can we shift gears?
Yes,
Let's
please.
wrap. We got to land the plane soon. I got a 12:15 lunch. Gonna get
At
some
12:15, where are you guys going?
Seattle Hill Gyro. Can I like sound snobby for a minute? I'm gonna
Do
sound
it.
snobby. And I just lamented about this to Greenie the other night.
Hold on, are you just now going to start sounding snobby?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was I not before?
I thought it all was.
Oh, thank you for that.
Just kidding.
Anywhere north of Seattle now, it's like really tough to find like good food.
Oh, you.
I know.
I think he's right.
But like the other night, we had a free night. My mom was watching Ellie, and Lenny was somewhere, and we were in the Mill Creek area. And I was like, "Ariel, what are we gonna do for dinner?" And she goes, "I guess like Azul." Like, I'm gonna be honest, we have become those people living in Seattle. Like, it's the best food all over. It's everywhere.
That's how I feel about the Palm Springs.
Do not
Washington.
say that about Yakima. Yakima has good tacos.
No, I will say this. I spend a lot of time in Seattle now with the commute, and the food scene in Seattle, it's so much better.
Blowing up.
So much better than out here. There's a place, dude, Windy City Pie.
Dude, Windy City. David, you're like 10 years behind, bro.
Are you kidding me?
My friend Derek puts Windy City in the grave.
Who's Derek?
That's exactly. You big food. You big
Even
food
Judah's
guy?
trying to figure out who the heck is Derek?
You big food guy?
Not like you.
Okay. But
John and I will go to Azul.
So here's the thing. Like Charlene is just not. I try.
Sure.
She's just not. Doesn't like to try new things. I mean,
Meat
I'm up-
potatoes kind of girl.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that.
green beans.
Yeah.
Maybe the occasional
Potatoes.
visit to Chateau Saint Michel.
Oh, barking frog.
Yum.
I've never been to Barking
Purple?
Frog. Purple's
okay.
all right.
Oh my
so
God. Pablo?
I've not been.
Bothell, dude. No, okay.
No, that's not Bothell. It's
since
Woodinville Wine Country.
Since you like tacos, has roasted.
Hold on. Why do I like tacos?
I know you like
Sean?
tacos.
Why do I like
This
tacos?
has nothing to do with
When-
your
I want y'all to
ethnicity.
comment
When you were in
why he
Vegas-
thinks I like tacos.
When you were in Vegas, did you go
Tacos
to
El Gordo?
Did you go to the place that Rosas took me when we were in Vegas?
I go every time, but I did go to Vegas with my wife, who cannot eat there because
I mean, I've been dreaming about that place ever since I've been there.
Did they do it on the spit, like the arrows?
Yes,
The pastor?
they call it trompo.
Trompo.
It
Like
was
this. They rub the tortilla on the
amazing.
meat, and then they get the meat. And
We
the,
gave them that.
the pineapple move.
We gave them this 400 years ago when the
salsa?
I don't care
Lebanese
who
made
gave
it
it
into
to
Mexico.
whomever. It was amazing.
Okay, so last night, Ariel and I watched a movie on Netflix that I highly recommend. It's called
Is this
What is it?
Recommend? Is this considering discretion here?
No, it's
Okay.
it's PG-13. There is no. It got 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So why'd you
Directed
watch it?
by the Russo brothers.
Why'd you watch it?
Because I still want to watch it. It's called The Electric State. It has Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt. What'd you think,
Judah has seen it.
It was
said it's
so good. Like the storyline's a little choppy, but I actually really enjoyed it. Will you guys watch it tonight and text me and let me know what you think?
I have to work.
After the worship night, text me
I've
what
got
you
to
think.
eat. Okay. Here's what I watched.
I'm not making any commitments.
Don't watch. John and I are going to commit to not watching it. There we go.
Okay.
15. What?
You watched Below Deck.
I literally I got caught up. I was on vacation this last week, so I had 2 episodes of Below Deck to watch. And
Who's your favorite
3
captain?
Oh, it's tough. I love Captain Lee. He's the OG. He
Yes.
now it's not doing the show anymore.
Who's your second
is-
then?
Probably Sandy,
I'm with you. Yeah.
and then followed by Jason. And I'm still trying to figure out Captain Casey, who replaced Captain Lee.
Yeah. No.
And my
Hard
Chiefs
no.
stew,
Hard no.
the Chiefs stew. Like if I was to charter a mega yacht,
Which one would you want? Yeah.
I would want Aisha.
So one time, John.
Why'd you just cut me up? I was going to talk about what I've watched.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I want-
White Lotus.
I have not, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Is it
I only watch it with my wife.
inappropriate? I think it's inappropriate.
It's not. It's not more inappropriate than what's the not Dungeons and Dragons? What's that thing that people-
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Dude.
It's not as bad as Game of
Brutally
Thrones. Not
against
anywhere near as bad as Game of Thrones.
Okay. 2 things. Number 1.
Yes.
One time, John, when
Yes.
David, his family, I think, lived in Bellevue.
Those were the
And
days.
when he was
Those were the days.
he was helping us with youth worship. It was just like we got out late and David's like, "Hey, can I crash at your house tonight?" And I was like, "Sure." And so he slept over. It was like a Wednesday night after youth.
Has he like slept over like everyone's house? I mean, he slept over my house.
So he crashed on our couch.
I lost my earrings in John's bed.
I wake up the next morning and it's like 7 a.m. David is making eggs and he's watching Below Deck. And I'm like, what is this show? And I'm watching these people. I didn't understand the show. It's like they all work on a small cruise together and they're beefing with each other. And David's like making the eggs, watching, like giving his commentary.
But do you realize how much money these people spend?
It is.
I mean, the tip is
insanity.
$25,000 to $30,000. So if that's
it's crazy.
if that's a 20% tip, what does it cost? $500,000 to rent the yacht for the 3 or 4 days?
It's up there.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys both about a show that I do think everyone should watch. It is amazing.
Here, let's
So
hear
do you
it.
remember playing the game Mafia, like in youth ministry?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
on the bus?
Yeah. So like you have like people who save your lives, and then you have like
The murderer?
my
murderers.
daughter at 8 won Mafia in our small
so
group
much
when
fun. We
she
played
was
it
so good
all
at
the
it.
time.
Dang.
Okay, so there's a show on Peacock called Traitors, where they bring in everyone who's been on The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Below Deck,
TRADER.
TRA,
Winter
I-
House?
like
Summer House?
traitor.
Okay, so the
Traitor.
guy from Below Deck, that was from Vanderpump Rules. It was,
my God!
it was Tom Sandoval.
Never watched it.
Anyways, so they brought in Zac Efron's brother, Real Housewives. They bring in all these D-listers, right? And they put them in this huge castle in Scotland. And you have to the show picks like 3 or 4. Boston Rob from Survivor, who's like a legend. The show picks 3 or 4 traitors, then no one knows who it is, and then everyone else is faithful. And you're trying to figure out who's the traitor. And every night they do like a council meeting where they all sit around the table, everyone does their spiel, and then they choose someone to
It reminds
cast
me
out.
of The Mole. Did you ever watch The Mole?
I never watched The Mole.
The Mole's on Netflix as well. Great show,
The Mole's
actually.
good.
Yes.
Dude, we watched it. It is so good. You really should watch. If you're into like reality TV strategy,
I would like that.
Rachel Winfield is who got us onto it.
That makes me a skeptic.
And okay, so if you watch
Sorry,
like Big
Rachel.
Brother, a lot of the Big Brother people were on there.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun, and then the host is kind of weird. But
Okay. Have you watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
my wife did. I love Jesus, so I
I
don't.
don't, this is the at this point everybody stopped listening right
no,
now.
no,
by now,
this is the
'cause
part they
we're-
actually love the most. No, keep
Okay.
going.
So nobody's listening at
This
this,
is what
point
we've
anymore.
learned. People
Yeah.
actually, this is the part they love the most.
So that's why you put it at the end, so they'll listen all the way through to
Exactly.
it. Okay, great.
All I know is that it's blown up so much that it's now airing on actual TV. It's not just on Netflix. So give it a watch.
So that's the bar.
and
to
then
be
watch Jesus for Mormons.
Kai Van Leuven.
Ivan Leuven.
Okay. Last thing, John. We ask every guest this. 3
Ooh.
questions. What are you listening to? Like podcasts, music. What are you
well,
reading?
of course, I listen to Pastors Unfiltered.
No, you don't.
He's one of the
No one
faithful
does. No, you
260.
don't. No one in a 10-mile radius of this building listens to our podcast.
Do you think Zeb still watches?
I don't know. I'm
Zeb,
not-
if you watch, text us.
I don't think anyone does. I don't.
Who's refreshing YouTube, PB?
He might be the 253. I don't know. You listen to Pastors Unfiltered?
Sure.
I'll take. See what I mean?
my.
No,
No one
okay.
at this church does.
I listen very faithfully and
How many weeks are you behind? Be honest.
a long time, but I did listen to from a couple of weeks ago just because I knew I was coming. Okay, what's going on these days? What are the questions? So I was like, in tune with the latest version. So I have listened to the last couple, but before that,
I mean, I get it.
Is your stomach growling?
Did you hear my stomach?
I literally
I heard
it
your
from over
stomach.
here.
Okay, so you're listening to our podcast. What are you reading right
I'm
now?
actually listening. Carrie Newhoff is my always go-to podcast.
He's
Love
good.
him. Yeah.
He's good. Okay, what are you reading?
What am I reading? It's always hard because I read on Kindle, so I never can give you the title. I don't know,
Is it?
but I'm always reading
leadership,
4 or 5 books. I'm always
fantasy, sci-fi.
I do not. I very seldom read fiction. I'm always reading leadership, nonfiction type.
Who are
type
some of your
books.
favorite authors?
I don't have like a favorite. It's more on themes. It's like
Okay. Yeah.
following people who follow people who write books on leadership. So that's usually what I'm reading.
Last but not least,
Yeah.
What are you doing for fun?
I don't do fun well.
We should go on a trip.
Dude, we would.
You wanna go on a trip?
We would rally the 3 of us.
You guys want to go to Hawaii?
Do we
No.
have to golf? Is my question.
No.
Thank God.
I'm gonna be honest.
He can golf.
I'm pretty golfed out right now. I'm having the midlife golf crisis. I'm going to see my coach.
It takes a lot of work and commitment.
No, my swing is broken. My swing is completely broken right now. I'm done. I'm
Okay, whoa, you're done?
not done. I'm taking a pause.
Okay, a little hiatus.
I need to go fix my swing.
Well, back to your question. What I'm doing for fun is we do have a couple trips planned. We're going to Boston for the very first time. We have friends
sick.
whose oldest son, who we've been friends with for a very long time, is getting married. Remote wedding in a castle
Whoa.
on the water in Boston.
When is this?
May.
Promise me you're going to try to go to a Red Sox game if they're in town.
I
You
actually,
have to.
I actually did look and ask Charlene if she wanted to go to a Red Sox game, and we were definitely talking about it.
You have to. Yeah. Okay, fun.
Fenway Park. So we're doing that, and we are now now that we're Seattle folks, Hawaii is just a yearly thing. We've
I
just
get it.
decided. So we're thinking about. I hope my daughters won't listen to this, so I'm safe. But they've been begging every time we're like, "You never take us." So I think we're planning a October trip to Hawaii when my oldest is on fall break and doing a family Hawaii trip for the first time.
Oh my. So I'll tell you what. Can you get a 3-bedroom Airbnb?
And you want to come with?
And Tony and I can come with.
Vinny is our third daughter, so she gets first shot. Sorry.
That hurts.
Give Vinny the couch.
I don't know.
We could get like a big Airbnb. We always Airbnb when we go there, by the way.
Okay.
So get a big Airbnb and all of our families. can
I
go.
have a wedding in October I have to be at.
I don't have anything.
John, do you remember this part of like ministry? So I have 3 weddings I'm officiating this summer, all my former youth kids. Doesn't it just like, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm an old man now.
That happened a long time ago.
Okay. Well, this is awkward.
You have a season where you feel like you're an old man, and then you get to the point like when you actually are an old man, it's like, this is really sweet.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I heard.
I would like all my decades, 50s
I hear
by
50,
far is
50
the best.
a lot of people love their
I
50s.
love being in my 50s.
That's what I've heard. Because you're finally empty nesters. You've worked your tail off. Get to just have a little more
Get to
fun.
choose some things you want to do versus you don't want to do anymore. And I remember as a kid though thinking 55 was an old man.
I've never thought that, John.
Thank you.
You don't look a day over 41.
Thank you.
Maybe 42. Well, hey, folks, don't forget, we want you to join us for our live recording. It's going to be so awesome. We have a registration in the show notes for you. We only have 11 spots left as of this recording.
Is there an incentive? Is there like a meal provided?
There's free merch. There's food.
Oh.
There's Q&A with PB and I.
I thought you were going to say Cuban something.
Nope, we don't smoke.
That I was not referring.
Is HGTV going to be there and sponsoring for the first? Because that
No,
goes all the
dude.
way back. I
No,
mean, like we
that
still,
is a good reference. That's a nod to the past.
I mean-
no, we haven't talked about Lindsay and Leslie in a year,
Oh,
and we're going to keep it that way.
you
Because
weren't
they,
supposed to say it.
because they took your name of your podcast.
they took our podcast.
Are they still even? Did they get canceled?
They took the
I don't
name.
know. They never even invited us to be on their podcast.
Producer.
Unbelievable. Don't get me started about Lindsay and Leslie. Unsellable houses.
Hey,
I'm going to start a show called Sellable Houses, where I just sell houses. Everyone's going to watch that.
Dude, you want to? We should start our own show.
We would thrive. Last but not least,
3 guys and a moving truck or something. No?
there is that
Why
company.
do we keep making like Hispanic jokes?
We're not. It's you. Hey, thank you
Trauma.
for listening. David has trauma. We love you guys.
Come
we
on.
appreciate you. Next week's going to be awesome. Don't forget, if you're in the area, we have Easter services at all of our campuses. Join us if you're in the Seattle area, if you're in the Mill Creek area. We'd love to see you guys there. It's going to be a great Easter. Thank you for being here. John, thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
for inviting me. It was
Thank you,
always,
brother.
always fun.
And David, thank you for flying in from Yucca Vegas to be here.
Come on, dude. Technically, I flew in from Mexico, but I'll give it to you.
I appreciate you, brother.
Notice we didn't even call him. Go on,
Okay,
go
yeah,
on,
you
go
just
on.
said Mexico. We didn't say anything.
I'm allowed to. I
Oh,
have the
that's-
card.
Did you hear about, John, did you hear about what happened last week on the podcast? When a pastor thought I was Italian, referred
Really?
to me as an Italian.
I could see that.
PB, you know when PB doesn't laugh a lot, but this made him like
He
cackle.
threw his pen.
He cackled. He's not like a laugher. So when you make him laugh, because like if he thinks something's funny, he kind of sometimes is like the sloth from Zootopia. He'll go. He'll have like a slow smile.
That actually
But
looked
this
just
time-
There's
like
no
him.
in between. It's
That
that,
It's
or like
slow
he's
smile,
crying.
or he's like, "Oh, that's so funny," and then he'll like tell everyone.
you got to cut that out.
Yeah. All right, we love you guys. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, make Jesus famous. He's the hope of the world.
Come on.
Take him out, Judah. Judah wants a wife. Gotta find him one.
Raiders roll.